But now let's talk about Supreme Court and how today they have agreed to hear a case or an appeal from a Colorado baker with religious objections to same-sex marriage. You guys might remember back in 2012, Jack Phillips, this is the said baker in Colorado. This case is called Masterpiece Cake Shop, because that's the name of the cake shop. Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission. And so the big question is, you might remember this Jack Phillips baker, refused to bake a cake for two men who were going to get married because of his religious beliefs. So it begs the question today, and we're so interested to hear what the Supreme Court is going to say about this and how they will vote about businesses refusing to serve clients based off of sexual orientation. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that that baker will be held, and I say accountable because, you know, we're here and we're talking about this platform. You guys know we're coming off of Pride Week, which we had on Morning Blend. We are all about gay pride, and this is, people don't have a choice. And this is, again, not opinion, this is scientific facts here. They don't have a choice to be gay or not. So when people of sexual orientation of being two gay men decide to get married, that is something that is highly debatable in this country. And so that's where it comes to, should a business owner refuse the right to serve a client based on their sexual orientation?
And when I was looking up this story too, Jack Phillips has a huge support system behind him. There is the equivalent of a GoFundMe page right now. People are trying to raise $200,000 for him because he's gone on the record to say, if I can't make cakes for the specific groups of people that I want to, then I won't make them at all. So he's lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in his business.
Not about the business for him.
For him, it wasn't about the business. He's a born-again Christian. He felt like this was his duty as a man of God to be able to say whether or not he agreed with this practice. But again, you're in the wedding cake business. You're in a cake business. You're a baker. So at what point do you say, well, it's legal now in this country to get married if you are lesbian or bisexual or gay. That is legal. I am in the business of making wedding cakes. It is legal for gay men to marry. It is legal for women to marry another woman. And so at what point as a business person do you have to say, you know what, this is the business that I'm in. You're in or you're out. You know, and so for him now, for this to go to the Supreme Court, because of President Trump and the way that I think that this is going to be divided now that we have more of a conservative base on the Supreme Court, I could see them voting in favor of the baker now to say, you know what, he was within his right to say no and refuse business to these two men. However, the moral obligation of what you're doing when you're in a business like that, are you morally obligated in a way to either be in or be out?
So this is out of the Los Angeles Times. This is back in 2012 when this came down. No federal law requires businesses to serve all customers without regard to their sexual orientation, but 21 states have quote-unquote public accommodations laws that prohibit such discrimination against gays and lesbians. They include California and 6 other states on the West, Illinois, 3 others, then Upper Midwest, 10 states on the East Coast, from Maryland to Maine. No state in the South or on the Great Plains has such a law. So right now, again, no federal law requires businesses to serve all customers without regard to their sexual orientation.
Well, when we first brought it up, my first question was, okay, so is there something written that states that discriminating against someone because of their sexual preference is different from discriminating against someone because of their religious preference, or because of the color of their skin, or any other thing that we've historically seen discrimination happening against? Because I understand the argument, and I get it, but at some point,
from Jack Phillips' point of view,
I get how I see where he's coming from, but again, my question is, so then how is this different from saying I will not serve someone because they are Christian, or serving someone because they are a Muslim? If they're like, show me where there is some difference between the two, because in my mind, if you say I'm not going to serve you because X, Y, and Z, then that means then the same thing can be said about someone else for some other reason, because we can all find reasons to discriminate against people. I don't like your shoes, I don't want to serve, I don't want to serve you. But if it's something that is a part of who you are and that makes up who you are, then how is this different from anything else?
And there was a couple in Albuquerque, New Mexico a few years ago, and their story came out because they were refused photography services for their wedding. It was a lesbian couple who wanted a photographer to come, take pictures of them for their wedding, and the photographer said no because they didn't agree with the same-sex marriage. So do you just, in this day and age, do you have to be okay with it? I mean, there are a lot of people who are supporting Jack on this GoFundMe equivalent page right now saying thank you for standing up to what you believe in, and are we supposed to shame him for that? Or are we supposed to shame him for not wanting everyone to be included? I mean, I don't know the right answer.
Well, right, and I know we're always challenged to say, okay, put yourself in the person's shoes so we can see all sides, because there are, I'm sure, a lot of people watching right now who understand where Jack Phillips is coming from and part of that GoFundMe page, and you have every right. It's freedom of speech. You have the right to say anything you want, whether it be right or wrong. We live in this free world, this country.
There will be fallout.
There will be fallout for those who don't agree or those who agree. There's going to be people on both sides. My thing is, for him, like you mentioned, he works in a business where this is what he does. And the fact that he's saying, you know what, then I just won't make any decisions at all based on sexual orientation for cakes. I mean, he has the right as a business owner. Say, for instance, someone owned a photography company, right? And they said, okay, I don't believe in I don't know, if someone for their religion, maybe they wanted to be all nude to do something, and that's something you didn't agree with or you didn't want to record. Do you have the right to say no based on your practices? I don't want to do that. I'm not comfortable with that. Like, is that, you have the right to say no to something you're not comfortable with. But where is that line?
Right.
Where is that line between racial discrimination or religious discrimination and having your own thoughts and opinions and having the right to feel
and on that
way.
GoFundMe page, Jack Phillips, it was a friend or a family member who created that page, and it's not GoFundMe, it's another one, and I'm trying to remember what it was, but it's the same similar thing. But in the actual article that was written about him, there was a video story showing his perspective and how he grew up and why this was so important for him to stick to his values. And in that description, it says that the gay couple came in, asked for this cake. He said, I won't make you a wedding cake, but I'll make you a birthday cake, I'll make you an Easter cake, I'll make you a this cake or a that cake, but I won't make you a wedding cake. He says that within 20 seconds, his phone was blowing up from those people leaving, and his business was forever ruined. But my question is, when you know that it's going to be something so controversial, and in the society that we live in now, and in the year of 2017 now, this happened last year, shouldn't he have expected the backlash?
Well,
shouldn't he have
expected, but once it happens,
what people can't, you can expect something, but once it hits you, it hits hard, and you don't really expect how it feels or the actual fallout. But I want to understand, okay, as a business owner, yes, like Megan said, you have a right to do whatever you want. If something makes you feel uncomfortable, then as someone who is providing a service, you can say, hey, you know what, that doesn't make me feel comfortable. But at what point do you care so much about what someone else is doing behind closed doors that you're willing for it to affect your livelihood? I don't care about so-and-so enough for them to help to affect me not having my business anymore. I don't. So I don't understand that aspect of, you must really care.
And is that wrong?
It's not wrong, but now you don't have any income. You don't have any income. So
you don't know what else he could be selling homes on the side.
True, he could have his real estate license. He could be selling homes.
Is that up to us to judge? Is that up to is that up to us to have a say so on the amount of money he's bringing in? Clearly, if it doesn't matter to him, why the heck do we care what kind of money he's bringing in?
And David Wan says, easy solution: have a different cake maker. Like, that couple can move on. Everyone's happy. But
he was charged with violation of the anti-discrimination law within the state of Colorado.
And now the Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court is saying okay to this hearing to see if they've taken it to the highest level.
Yeah.
To say, okay, this is bigger than one cake and one same-sex couple being told no, they can't have a wedding cake by this company. So we're going to see now. Yeah. I think after today, I don't know how long it takes. I don't know if it's hours or days. But after this hearing, I think we will get a better understanding of where that line lays.
Right. I think they've agreed to have a hearing. I don't know when that will be. It could be today, it could be in months, but we know that it's agreed upon.
Today, so our question, to have the hearing.
Right. So my question for all of you is, who do you think is in the right? Do you think the business owner refusing service to this gay couple? was in his right to express how he felt and to be true to his values? Or do you think the original ruling out of Colorado that claimed this was discrimination against a gay couple was in the right? What do you think? It's a tough question to answer, and I think that we can go back and forth on it in a lot of different ways because we're trying to see both sides. But the Supreme Court will ultimately have the decision, and they are a conservative group.
It was in that state of Colorado, and he was already violated again for the anti-discrimination law. Then he should be in a state where that isn't discriminatory legally. You know, then he needs to move his business. Like, that's the other side of that, is like, okay, well, yes, that couple could have gone to a different shop, but they're in a state that they're protected in. So that company, I think in this case, the Supreme Court may come down and say, no, you were in a state, you know, this is against the law. Go to another state and have your business there if you don't want to be charged for this.
Or the third way you could look at it is, it possibly is discriminatory, but is same-sex marriage important enough overall to add it to the list of other things that you can be discriminated against for?
Like in the same category as
race, religion, or any other thing that's bucketed in underneath discrimination.
Yeah.
We will see. This is interesting. All right.